What's up guys, Tougie here, back again, this time with something a little bit different. Now first off I want to say, if this is your first time ever seeing one of my videos, hey, check out my channel, some GM mode stuff, some tutorials, and the like, feel free to check that out. Cheap plug over though. Moving on to what this video is, there was a topic created in the EA forum, or on the EA forum, discussing the fact that goalies, or this guy's opinion that it should be fact that goalies need to be banned from drop-in games. Human goalies need to be banned from drop-in games. Now, I often don't respond on the EA forum, especially to ridiculous topics like this, but this one really got me, and I just want to make my opinion very, very clear on the subject. Not to say my opinion's more valuable than anybody else's, but regardless, let's just break this down piece by piece, and this should be a lot of fun. Think about it. How many times do you play a drop-in and the game is completely ruined from manual goalies? Now honestly, replace a few words and you can copy and paste this argument for literally any online game that has an emphasis on team play, and it's not just limited to sports titles, it can literally be any game. For example, I am a big Battlefield player. How many times in Battlefield can you spawn in to a helicopter and the pilot bails out, resulting in you and a couple of other of your teammates' deaths? How many times has that happened to you Battlefield players? It's happened to me quite a bit. GTA Online. Say you're doing a heist and there's a random player in there who just repeatedly gets you killed so that you fail the mission. Does that sound familiar to some of you guys out there? Hell, you don't even need to be playing a team play oriented game. How about a racing game? How about you're playing Forza Online? How often does someone who's at the back of the pack decide to just start driving the other way and try to wreck whoever the hell they can? Isn't that also ruining the experience? But to answer your question, how often is a game ruined for me due to human goalies? Truthfully, never. Why? I know what the hell to expect. It's a drop-in game, a meaningless, throwaway game. Now that statement is coming from someone who has a bit of a rage issue because I take my club games pretty damn seriously. I don't play to lose. But as others have pointed out in the thread, literally any player can result in the ideal experience for drop-in games being lost. It's not just limited to goalies. Whether it's defenders playing forward, people ragging the puck, own goaling it, repeatedly going off sides, these are just as common, if not more typical, of drop-in games than goalies being the problem. Again, it's a drop-in game. It doesn't matter. Oh well, they wasted my time! You're playing a video game. That's all you're doing is killing your own time. If the 5 to 10 minutes that they wasted of your precious time is that valuable to you, I suggest you get a new hobby. Now the next part of this is simply hysterical, so allow me to break it down even further. They jump everywhere! So your complaint is sporadic movement? I mean, I guess it's an acceptable complaint. I mean, most goalies, particularly in drop-ins, can complain about the sporadic movement and positioning of the 5 players in front of them, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Lateral movement for goalies in this game has never been more difficult to learn, to master. It is extremely difficult. Find any goalie you want, any goalie you consider good, which is subjective by the way, and I guarantee that they are far from mastering the movement of goalies in this game. Why? Well, simply put, it's impossible to master. It's a continuing process of trying to improve. I don't care if you're praised as one of the best goalies in LG, or if you're at the top of the in-game leaderboards, the goalie on one of the top 10 clubs on Xbox or PlayStation. I don't care. You are much closer to the rest of the pack in terms of skills than you are closer to perfection, and that is a simple fact. Go take dump and leave their guy sitting there. I mean, benefit of the doubt, you were on a phone when you were typing this. Or you've simply never heard of proofreading. Regardless, as far as the leaving your player idle, this is far, far from a goalie issue. And if your complaint is actually, oh, well, they just sit in the butterfly and try to make saves, it was a legitimate strategy in the past, it can be a legitimate strategy now, especially with how difficult the lateral movement is. See how that worked its way back into the conversation? Imagine that. I know all you 12-year-olds will come in here and say, I have no D. I hear you, so stop playing goalie. You're rarely gonna get it, but back to my point. You had a point? This statement lost you any credibility that you may have had. And yes, I'm cocky enough to say that. I'm not saying my opinion is more credible or even that it matters, but this lame attempt at humor is simply that. It's lame as fuck. Goaltender is arguably one of the more difficult roles to play in gaming today, if not in gaming history, and I'm legitimately talking about any game. Some people find beating certain bosses, or again, to bring it back to the Battlefield series, some people find flying to be incredibly difficult. Goalie ranks up there with the highest of difficulties in gaming. And in case you are unaware, hockey is a team game. It's a team sport. You're not gonna get good D, don't play goalie argument is just as valid as a goalie telling someone not to play defense. The blame game equally goes both ways. And to say, oh, you damn 12-year-olds, what's worse? The 12-year-olds complaining about lack of defense, or you complaining about the 12-year-olds complaining about the lack of defense? Hell, what's even worse might be me complaining about you, complaining about 12-year-olds who are complaining about the lack of defense. But regardless, my point remains the same. Hockey is a team sport. All parties have to carry their weight, and defense and goalie go hand in hand. But on top of that, in case you didn't know, all 5 skaters are just as responsible for defense. Just a helpful hint. And if you want to learn how, feel free to watch this tutorial video. I can teach you, buddy. I can teach you the ways of good team defense so you can stop being such a cunt. How many games have you played and your goalie gives up 3 goals in the opening 2 minutes and then quits? Thanks, goalie. Thanks for coming in today. Not only did you ruin the game for me, but now for everyone else in the game, that's a selfish way to play. And in how many of those games were people, you included, I'm gonna guess, how many of those games were you scapegoating the goalie? As others have said in the thread, it's a thankless role. But here's the thing, you're complaining about them quitting. Well, isn't that what you wanted? Sure, they tried to play, but the only reason you'd care about them quitting is if you cared about the scoreboard. And truly, if you care about the scoreboard in a meaningless game, I feel safe in saying that you're probably no fun at parties. You seem like the type of guy that would beat a kid at a game of fucking ring toss and celebrate like you just won the goddamn Super Bowl. Not only that, but we know all of this community is full of trolls. Full, I tell you! Well, you included, bud. You included. What position can destroy an entire game for all 11 others trying to play some hockey? You. Thanks, goalie. Again, that's just a lie. They should remain in clubs, all 1,000 of you? Is that a question? Sure, but take them out of public matches, please. It's just awful and ruins the game every single time. Quotations or whatever. Leaving room for LD and RD to never play their positions. Boy, if this were the case, my self-confidence would be absolutely shot. Messages I've gotten, voice chats I've had during the game of people praising my big saves, without those, I'd just be a lost cause. And you want to take that away from me? You want to hurt my self-confidence? Like hell, I say. I have the right to be motivated by strangers over a video game, son, and I'll be damned if you're going to take that away from me. Sarcasm aside, and to wrap this up, regardless of whether or not OP even listens to this, it's irrelevant. The points I made remain absolutely valid. Now, I'm not innocent in terms of getting frustrated with people in drop-ins, but again, what the hell do you expect? If someone wants to ruin the game, hey, they have the right to. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They spent their money on the game just like you did. Does it make them a dick? Sure, it absolutely does, but it is what it is. And if someone who is genuinely trying to get better at the game is one of the people that you're complaining about, it's their right too to try and get better at the game. They fucking spent money on it, or their parents spent money on it. Whether it's a kid or someone who is new to hockey, fucking 18 or older, it doesn't matter. It truly doesn't. And honestly, try not being a dick for once, which is hard for me to say as someone who is far from innocent in terms of trash talking. But try not to be a dick. You'd be amazed at how many times I've turned on my mic mid-game and simply suggested a positive change to someone and actually saw them improve their play within the 20-minute span of one game. Again, all of this comes from a guy who has been on the receiving end of people like you calling me out, blaming me for shit. And I've also been on the receiving end, as I said, of fucking comments, positive fucking comments saying, hey, wow, thank you, goalie, good save, great game. You want to talk about trolls? you write in that class, you're what's wrong with this community. Only complaining with no positive suggestion other than to ban the guys ruining my time. It's fucking pathetic, and you should be goddamned ashamed of yourself. But guys, that's it for now. I'm not wasting any more of my time on this guy. Again, not to say my opinion's more credible than anybody else's. Not to say anyone's even going to listen to this entire video, which is probably going to be over 10 minutes. But I had to just share my opinion on this. And again, this is part of the reason why I'm not too active on the EA forum, is for people like this. Again, I'm not innocent of complaining about other people, complaining about the game, raging about the game. I am far from innocent, but I'm not as big of a douche as to say, get all of these people who ruin my time out of my face. I'm better than them. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like down below. Subscribe for more NHL content. Of course, I'm also branching out into some FIFA content in the future. My channel is still relatively new, and again, if you are finding this because of my post on the EA forum and you've stayed for the whole thing, thank you very much. And make sure to let me know your thoughts down below, although I'm sure most of you have already posted your thoughts on the EA forum as well. And I'll say it one more time, thanks again very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.